I'm ready.
It works? Okay.
Yes, the mic.
Okay, we'll continue with the presentation of Marian Marino, home automation with Home Assistant I/O. Take away.
Thank you. Do you hear me? Okay. So this is this setup over here, minus the cameras. So at home, I have a lot of switches, a lot of cameras, TVs and stuff that I have to connect to. And I decided that I will not show you the presentation. Instead, I will actually demo what you can do. So here's the interface here. And wait a second. I have to refresh that. As you can see, the cameras are showing some stuff here. I'll put this one just a little bit like this. Maybe here, okay? So this is the images. The image down is from the Raspberry Pi camera. This is very cheap, a Chinese camera that you attach to any Raspberry Pi and it works. You need 3 or 4 lines of configuration to actually add this. Again, 3 or 4 lines of configuration for the other camera. I didn't have enough ports for connecting the third camera there. Also, I have configured here a calling interface, XMBC. If you use that for home video playing, I have configured here a temperature sensor that I have at home. Currently, I forgot to get it for here. It connects to the internet to check if there is, if the sun has set, and also here we have switch that we use to turn off and on this light. Wait a second. So. This is the configuration of Home Assistant. And let me check if I have done the proper wise. All right. It wasn't this IP. It was something else. Just give me a sec to find what was the IP. Curl, not this one. I forgot to change the IP address for the switch, and also forgot to change the broadcast address for Wi-Fi. So it should be like this. Okay, and restart Home Assistant. Waiting, and refresh this thing. Don't worry, it's starting a little bit slower. Yeah, the Raspberry is not the best computer in the world. Okay, I refreshed again. So, I just turned off the light and turned on the light. Maybe by the end of the presentation, we will also see the Wi-Fi interface. This is a smart bulb that can be controlled for different, with different colors, different brightness. The light will stay up because this switch here is controlling this Arduino here, which is connected to a relay that controls this lamp. So at home, I have a few of those that I can control with their API directly. Their API is connected to the Raspberry Pi via the Home Assistant interface, and I can turn off and on the lights while they're on, change the colors while they're on. But I also have physical switches, and these physical switches I can control with the Arduinos. And here I presented a small setup of the physical switch and Arduino here. So this is what you can control here with video and a lot of other stuff. There are around 150 different components for Home Assistant. Like you can connect your alarm system to Home Assistant, pull information from it. You can connect RESTful APIs. You can connect MQTT interfaces directly to your Home Assistant. So with this demo, who am I? For those of you that haven't seen me in the past 7 years here, I'm the chief system architect of SiteGround, and in my spare time, I teach network security and Linux system administration in Sofia University. Why am I talking about this? Simply because I had like 5 Arduinos at home. Then I decreased the number by compacting some stuff on a single Arduino. Then I started thinking about interfaces because my wife doesn't really like command-line interface. She's a programmer, but still, command-line interface is for people like me. So I started with this, which is not very nice interface, but it works. I still have this page on each Arduino that has a sensor or a button connected to it. Then I created this, which have a nice graph now. It has the log of when my heating was turned on and stuff like this. But now I have the heating here, and then I had like 7 other lights that I wanted to connect. So I started building my own web interface, which I'm not a web designer, and it took me a lot of time simply to build this. I hated it. So at a certain point, a colleague of mine told me about Home Assistant and told me that he has connected everything in his house. So I decided, okay, I should take a look at this thing and I'll think about it. So at home, my cameras are connected to ZoneMinder. This is the video surveillance, open source video surveillance software. So I was okay with it. The interface is not very good, but it works. Then I decided, okay, I'll move the cameras to Home Assistant, but Home Assistant lacks most of the video surveillance software stuff, like recording and also searching in the past, stuff like this. So I'm stuck with ZoneMinder for the cameras, but I also added the cameras to Home Assistant simply for viewing current status, current pictures of the cameras directly on one place. So my interface at home looks more like this. I'll show you. I have it loaded here. This is my interface at home for what I have. The 4 LifeX bulbs are over here. Where's the pointer here? Okay. So the 4 bulbs here are the smart bulbs. I can control them on and off while they're on, like this. But when we are getting to the bed, I don't want to search for my phone to turn on and off a light bulb. I have a switch next to the bed that I can control. So here are switches that I can turn on and off. And these switches here are simple curl commands. Curl to the yun, turn on, turn off. I'll show you in a bit. So all of these are physical switches here, and these here are relays for my heating at home. This is the current temperature of the kitchen. I have a few other sensors that I haven't configured yet to Home Assistant. And what you see here is Home Assistant detected my TV at all. I simply installed Home Assistant, booted the Raspberry Pi, opened this interface, and I saw my TV. There was nothing else but my TV. Then I added 2 lines, and I got the other light bulbs here. And then I added the Raspberry Pis for home entertainment, video playing, showing pictures and stuff like this. The interface is bad. If you are used to Yaste, which is the Android remote control for Kodi, it's still, that interface is still better than what Home Assistant gives you. So I have tested the Raspberry Pi camera, but it's obviously here now. So, and this Raspberry Pi is actually my Home Assistant from home. I simply changed the configuration for here, but it's my own Home Assistant. My wife doesn't know that it's not at home. So let's continue with the presentation. There are graphs for temperature. These are the sensors here that you add, and if you click on this sensor that is with units Celsius, it will build you this nice graph for the temperature. It's not the best graph. You cannot zoom in, zoom out, and move in the graph, but it's a simple graph that shows you a few hours of your usage at the moment. So what is Home Assistant? Home Assistant is a Python application, very nice modular Python application. You can either install it on Raspberry Pi, preferably Pi 3, because the others are not powerful enough for all the things that you would add to Home Assistant. And you can also install it on any Linux machine directly with Python. Since I had a few Raspberry Pis at home, I decided that I'll dedicate a Raspberry Pi for Home Assistant. For Linux users, you can simply pip install it, and that's it. Once you install your Home Assistant, you first connect to it directly on 8123 port on your machine, or if it is on the Raspberry Pi, on the IP of the Raspberry Pi. You would see an empty interface which would, Okay, you would see an empty interface with only the sun and your symbols and nothing else. If you have something smart like the TV at home, Home Assistant will detect that by broadcasting some traffic. So then you would want to configure your Home Assistant, and it's using YAML configuration files. The configuration file is not very hard to understand. There are a lot of commands on it. You need to configure the name of your Home Assistant, longitude and latitude. This is required for the sun setting plugin, and elevation also for the sun setting. If you're in Europe, this is usually your system, and time zone for showing you time series. You enable the front end, you enable the HTTP. If you disable some of these, any of these, you wouldn't get the web interface. Updater, discovery, when you enable this, this is the way how you tell Home Assistant you want discovery, you want Home Assistant to find what you have in your network that is smart. Then history of actions and logbook, I'll show you in a bit. So my configuration that you looked at, I have the sun sensor, the sensor for weather prediction, the sensor for temperature, which is actually a simple curl, as you can see here. Curl to Arduino Yun, that here is Arduino Yun. And on the Yun, I have installed Yun Bridge, which is a standard example library for Arduino. You simply go to examples and go to bridge and then upload the image to the Yun. Then I have configured 8 digital to be my input for temperature, and added simply DHT22 to return this information. Units of measurements for this return is Celsius. Then I have the whites here. My home network is this, so I say that I'm using the Wi-Fi platform. This is the broadcast, and when it broadcasts, the bulbs should respond. Then I have media players for the bedroom, for the living room, and then there are the switches. And all of my switches are again connected to one Arduino UN. No, actually, this is not UN. This is a simple Arduino with a basic similar version to the bridge software. You simply define which pin and what to do. Currently, 2 for me is these are not switches, these are buttons, so I don't have state on them, on or off. They're only pushed for a bit. So I'm pushing and releasing the button with 2, which actually makes the relay to turn on and off just for a second. So I have all of these switches here, and then I have the heating at home. I get the information from another Arduino, which is obviously Yun with the bridge software, and that's it. I have a few other things that I still haven't configured on Arduino, but with on Home Assistant. But with this simple configuration, I get this interface. So the nice thing about this interface is that it actually works on. Where is the other interface? Okay, it actually works on phones also, so you don't need to be a web designer to, you don't need an app on your phone in order to connect to your application to your home. You can proxy this and protect it through your web server at home. And the first things that I really had to do was restart the thing. As a system administrator, when I don't know the command, I simply kill it. But this obviously is not the proper way of restarting Home Assistant. So Hasbian obviously uses systemd. So there are 2 ways of restarting Home Assistant. First is through the web interface. I'll show you in a bit. And the second is from the command line. Why you need the command line? Because inevitably you will create a wrong configuration. And when Home Assistant restarts, it will never start because broken configuration. And when this happens, you fix your configuration, but it still doesn't start from the web interface because it's already down. What you need to do is clear the failed actions and stop, start, or restart the system, the Home Assistant service. From the web interface, that's a completely different story. So you usually use the States tab here. However, you have to see this here. These are developer tools here. And you click there, and you're presented with this dialog here. In the first drop-down, you select the Home Assistant, and then, okay. Then on the second thing, here is service is written. Then you select the restart, and then you call the restart service, which is done where? Here. Okay, so we show the menu. Show the menu. Okay. Here, I really didn't know what this is in the beginning. So here's Home Assistant. And restart. If your configuration is okay, it will restart. If your configuration is bad, it will break and never start until you log in on the Raspberry and restart it. Okay, so since this is Ajax interface, it actually doesn't reload immediately. It waits. It doesn't reload the whole page, or it only reloads certain parts of it. Unfortunately, we still don't see the YFX bulb. Bad. So you can group switches, you can group different things like cameras, and you can trigger actions. Like, for example, currently for the temperature at home, I have both program on the Arduino and program on my router that connects to the Arduino, and checking the temperature. If the temperature is above or below certain limits, it will turn on and off the heating. This is a simple script of around 100 lines that does this. However, Home Assistant allows you to create triggers when, for example, you reach certain temperature from the temperature sensor. Home Assistant can trigger a command. In my case, that would be a curl to the heating system to stop it or to start it. You can also add motion sensors from your alarm system, or simply standard Chinese motion sensors. And with those motion sensors, you can trigger different actions like turning on and off a group of lights or a single light. And the other interesting thing is that you can schedule stuff, like you can schedule a call in the morning for a wake-up call, or you can schedule, for example, I have electric blinds that I have made, and I can control them. They're still not in Home Assistant, but the idea is very simple. If the sun has set, I should open the blinds, so I should wake up. Or at least my wife should wake up. I had a problem with Home Assistant, and that all of the switches and stuff in Home Assistant require state. So I wrote an additional component for Home Assistant that doesn't require any state, so for my buttons to work correctly with Home Assistant. Because currently, what you have seen here when I was clicking this, the light bulb is now off, right? But what if I restart the bulb? Okay, don't worry. And wait, I need to. So I have removed the relay. I turn off the bulb, right? Home Assistant thinks that I have turned off the bulb. Now it's turned off, but if this cable is not connected, the bulb would not be off right now. So it doesn't know what's happening because this sensor currently, this switch doesn't give you state. It simply do what I tell it to do whenever I tell it to do it, and nothing else. Okay. Oh, wait. So yeah, you don't need an app for your phone for this. And if you have any questions, I would like to answer them. Yep.
Do you have some, obviously, I guess you do experience when you are administering Raspberry Pi or whatever, what does the serve the system in the meantime? Is it the system completely down, or you can make some backup Raspberry, some kind of golden configured computer that can replace it during you are changing your new version configuration and so on?
It's completely down. It restarts the process. And if you don't have a configuration that works, you're dead in the water. I'll explain it like this. A few years back, someone tried to steal my car, and they simply removed the computer that is connecting my keys to the car. And without this computer, I had a very expensive brick because it doesn't work. You cannot start the car, you cannot move the wheel, anything. It's the same with your home. When you remove the heart of this home, if this heart is your home assistant, you have a big problem. So for me, I have designed my house around this. So I can connect to the smart bulb if it is on, but I have a physical switch that can turn it off and on. I really don't care if it is smart or dumb white bulb. I can connect to that. The first interface that you see in here, I keep this on each of the Arduinos that are with sensors and switches. Like, for example, this is directly from my heating system. In case my script that is turning on and off the heating doesn't work for some reason, my router doesn't work for some reason, I want to connect to this and turn it on and off. And even if I can't connect to the Arduino, I keep backup Arduinos at home, backup Raspberry Pis just in case. But if I don't have the Arduino and I cannot restore the software on it or whatever, I have a switch that is acting for turning on and off, physical switch for turning on and off the heating. This is very, very important with smart stuff. You need dump backup, dump. Because they will essentially break. If you tinker with them a lot, they will break. Yesterday on the table we were talking about a product. This is not a product. All of the things that you buy, they work by themselves. I mean, this white bulb works by itself. But trying to connect that to another software or hardware that is designed by another company, most of the time doesn't work. So you need to create something that connects these different things, and Home Assistant is exactly that. This is the first software that I saw that can connect completely different things, unite them under one interface, but now this is your single point of failure for your home. For example, a friend of mine decided to build his smart home, and what happened when he didn't have an electricity was that even though he could provide 12 volts to some of his emergency lightings, he couldn't turn them on because they were controlled by the IoT devices that require 220. So yeah, he's fucked. Other questions?
Yes. How much is this secure from cyber attacks?
How much is it secure? I don't know. For me at home, I secure my home on my router, so everything is firewalled on my router. Everything in my network is insecure. So if you come to my home, connect to my network, I have allowed you to connect to my network, then I trust you to do stuff on it. I have a guest network, so most probably you would not enter my home network, you would enter the guest network. How secure? Most of the things, like every white bulb that I have, smart white bulb or smart sensor that I have, they try to connect to the internet for some reason. Like my TV tries to send a live audio stream from my home to the internet. I simply disconnect those things, firewall them. They do not have internet. They are on a separate VLAN, and I really don't care that they think they need internet. If a smart device at home needs internet, when you don't have internet, you may not be able to use that device. I have seen a few of those. Other questions?
We have time for one more question.
Yep.
So,
So your Linux homes, they actually need the
They need regular what? Regular updates. Why regular updates? Actually, I have a few. That bulb was this backup bulb from home. I opened it yesterday. It is never updated. It is bought last year. It works. It is not connected to the internet. Yeah, the app on my phone tells me that that bulb needs firmware update. Why? It works. The firmware update for that bulb would be how to connect to their cloud, how to update their APIs. Their API works with Home Assistant at the moment. Really, I shouldn't touch that. If you update that thing and it doesn't work after the update, how you downgrade it? Have you seen a procedure for downgrade for embedded device? I have seen a few from WRT guys. That's okay because it's open source software, but have you seen a downgrade from, for example, Philips Hue? I have a few friends that have Philips Hues at home. They only upgrade, never downgrade. If something breaks, they have to buy new bulbs. And their bulbs are extremely, they're not cheap. Okay. If you want to see this, I will go out and set it up again there. And you can tinker with it there, okay?
Okay, thank you very much. So for more information on home automation, contact Marian outside when he sets up the setup. A sada radiona org Creativity, Technology, Art and Science and Culture. Debora Hustić